Okay, so I'm tinkering around with Vue 3 and working on some of the new features that they have. And also at the same time, I'm working on a redesign for my website. So when I'm tinkering around with these frameworks and these new technologies, I like to actually kind of style what I'm working on so it actually is visually appealing because as a designer developer, I kind of can't help it. So this is my navigation. I'm using some CSS 3 functionality to create these kind of transitions that's going on. And I'm on the features page. There's a registration page that would show how the registration page might look like on my new site once I get around to redesigning it. There's a forms page that shows actually how the form elements would render, and then also in the footer, I'm also going to display what the site is built on. So in this specific case, since this is a case study for Vue 3, there's the Vue logo, there's this JavaScript logo, the HTML5 logo, and the CSS3 logo, and Bootstrap for responsiveness. Okay, and again, there's responsiveness going on here. Okay, so essentially, what I want to focus on is a new feature which is called teleport in Vue 3. So here I've created a modal, so I'm styling basically a modal, and the plain modal would function like this. So when I click a button to invoke a modal or programmatically invoke a modal, this would just be a plain modal. So sometimes you could create the functionality where when you click on the background, it would close. But specifically, I want the functionality where the user actually has to engage within the modal itself. So it uses you got to click the close icon here, which is X there, right? So open and close. Okay. So then the regular modal would look like this. So it's a little bit more stylistic. That's why you have the plain, and then just kind of how I'd like to style a more visually engaging modal with the title, the content in the middle, and then buttons. I have a secondary button type and a primary button type here, and these are all injected conditionally, or if at all. So depending on what kind of modal I need or what kind of interaction, this is all programmatic within Vue 3. All right. So essentially, I can close this, open it, and then close it again. All right. So briefly under the hood here, this is my structure that I am using Vue router, and it looks like this. So I'm importing the different views. I'm actually invoking the Vue router methods in here, and these are the paths to the different pages that I was sharing with you. I even have a 404 page in case something is, somebody types or I type in the wrong page, so it's just not blank. Essentially, what we have here is the features of Vue, all right, which is over here in the views, which is a 404 page, the registration page that I showed you, the forms page here. But we're right now focusing mainly on the features view, right? So this is the template or the HTML, and so essentially here are the buttons. The buttons are in the components, so things are going to be used globally throughout the site. And again, like styles, for example, here the styles are global, and I'm using CSS to compile I'm using SAS, excuse me, to compile the CSS. Okay, I like using SAS a lot. It makes creating CSS a lot easier and faster. So I'm using this globally here, which is I'm pulling in Bootstrap, which I could use a CDN. I don't like doing that because in case the CDN site goes down, then my site, my personal site looks like crap, right? And then here's my global styles, which I just showed you, right? So I'm pulling in Font Awesome, that is called locally, and Bootstrap, and Font Awesome is, displaying the icons here. So we looked at index here, which is the index for the router for navigation, and then features view. So back to features view. So basically, buttons are being used. They're sharing properties. So they're basically just a plain button, and in order to get the different look and feel and content within the button, I have the text and a button type, even icon class, and then the on click event here, or at click event, which is a view specific event handler, is calling a method called toggle plain. All right, and then in the other button, which is this button here, again, it says open modal here, as you can see, and I'm passing that the string in, and then the button type is short, and so therefore that means it's going to stick to the content within. And then it's the event handler method on click is toggle modal. Okay, so again, on the modals themselves, the modals are defined basically the same way, and so I'm using a lot. I'm invoking a lot of properties to these modals. So we've got the title, we've got the content, and then I'm also employing slots, so I can display or not display buttons if and when necessary. And then there's the close event handler using toggle modal, and the same thing on the other modals. Or so. And this is the plain modal, so toggle plain. All right. So if we look at the modal briefly, this is the modal view or the component. Again, it's agnostic and it's calling in all these properties. All right, and then this is the closed modal. It's using emit. This is a child property that's being called, so I need to invoke the parent closing method on the little x element. So let's see here. So here's that element here, and it is, I'm using an event modifier here, self. So basically close itself here, and using close modal, which is this method down here. All right, so and then here's the slot that is pulling in the buttons if they are available in the modal footer. Okay, so essentially the main feature that's new to Vue 3 is this teleport function. So teleport element, excuse me. All right, and it requires a property of 2, and it's calling a class. It could also be a hashtag for an ID of an element within the DOM. Okay, and then I'm using a conditional, so that means if the show modal is being toggled on and off as a whether it's false, or whether show modal is false, or whether show plain modal is false, when you toggle it, the modals, they will switch back and forth using this line of code, which is similar on both of these methods here. So if we go back to the DOM and we inspect this, we can kind of show you how teleport is working. All right, so just take a minute here. All right, so I'm going to expand this up a little bit so it's easier to see. Toggle down to the body here, and let's see here. No script. There's the app, which is what we're seeing. That's being highlighted, and where's that modal? Oh, there it is. All right, so this is the actual element, this div element here, modals here, which is a class, and in teleport, that is what's being called here. Okay, so that's how this works. And again, you have to add whether it's for like kind of similar to CSS. If it's a class, you use a dot. If it's an ID, you use a hashtag or hash character. All right, so we're going to be looking at this box here within the DOM. So when I open up the plain modal, it automatically teleports, or the modal, the component teleports itself into the DOM here at the bottom of the DOM tree. So this is all the elements. So that's how it works. When I close it, it disappears. All right. So its life cycle hook is whether it's mounted or unmounted, right? Within Vue nomenclature. So again here, this default modal is appearing, and there you go. And once you close it, it disappears. So essentially that's how teleport works. And again, I just kind of just tinkering around and playing with the new features in Vue 3.